Okay, here we go. The Planet Mikey Show.
He's about to get crazy and wild. Stay for a while. Don't touch your radio dial.
Planet Mikey Show.
Kicking it back, sports talk. Listen to that and stay tuned for some giggles and laughs. Go.
My dog drives me nuts. My dog. He wants me to mate him. I wouldn't mate him. Let him go through what I go through. I mean, last week was rough. Are you kidding? Last week I looked up my family tree. 2 dogs were using it.
Welcome to the Planet Mikey Show.
Hey, oh, it's rough. He was doing dog jokes. Ruff, ruff. This is Planet Mikey episode number I Don't Give a Shit. Honestly, we're dropping the numbers thing, guys, because nobody gives a shit what episode number it is. Right?
You don't think?
No. More importantly, I think we should just say what date it is. It's the 11th of July. Once de Julio, if you're south of the border, in 2023. Because we've been doing this now for years. What were we doing? 20, 30, 15, 20 years now, huh?
Yeah, you know, when we listen to this in the future, we'll all say, wow, we were so young then.
Well, yeah, Ben Kitchen wasn't even born when we started doing this.
Nope.
Bill Smith, of course, was 30.
That's
But the thing is, though, that more important than any of that is the fact that we're still here.
It's true.
Enlightening people, informing them, lifting their spirits, delineating right and wrong on a podcast, and it's not heard of these days.
We're sort of like the true north.
Plus, I get better looking every day. Now that we're on YouTube, I've just started to notice I get better looking every single week.
What's your secret, Mike?
It must be those meals from Factor. Those are good.
You mean one of our sponsors has a product that you actually like?
I had 5 Factor meals in the last 6 days, and they were all very delicious. And they have these smoothies.
Hold on, I'm curious. What kind of meals did you have?
Well, you know, one of them was believe it or not, a mushroom and goat cheese with broccoli. And it was way too healthy for normally my selection on the menu.
So it's not like just beef and cheese?
It was great. And it's not frozen. You don't have to thaw it out. It's fresh, but it's not frozen. It's refrigerated. Sent to you. You put it in the microwave, and you go, boop, and it's 2 minutes. You're there, and you don't have to thaw it out or any of that stuff. Yeah, it's just great. I mean, I really, they do a good job.
What's it called again?
Factor. I don't even know it.
That's right.
Planet Mikey episode number, right, Ben?
Right.
Brought to you also by our favorite mechanics in the history of mechanicism. And they're the guys at Pro Automotive, the certified pros at Pro Automotive.
I think I got to bring my car there because the horn doesn't work.
Okay.
If I turn to the left, it will beep. If I turn to the right, it will beep. But straight ahead when I need it, because I needed it today so badly, I wanted to bang somebody.
Turn to the left, fine. Turn to the right, fine. Turn straight, and you're in trouble in this society.
So I got to figure out what causes that.
Well, you know what? It's funny because my black Grand Marquis needs a transmission cable, a shifter cable.
Yeah.
Because it was having a hard time getting into reverse. Which will happen. But the pros at Pro Automotive are going to take care of business for me, as they always do. They are my mechanics, and I'm proud to have them as friends and mechanics. Also, I must mention, legendary Giacomo's in Melrose, Massachusetts.
Delicious.
Oh, everything's delicious. Next week, we're going to have Bob from My Grandma's Coffee Cake on. We're going to weasel some free cakes out of him.
Yeah, I want to ask him, how does he make the cake so moist? It just stays that way.
It's an amazing thing. Yeah. You can ask him all that, but he's a nut. I mean, he's a complete nut, so he'll be fun on the podcast for a few minutes, and we'll also weasel some cakes out of him. What do you think?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, how about you send over a couple of blueberries for us, huh? We like them. Also, if you want to contact us, you can do so by going to planetmikeypodcast@gmail.com. I think I check it once a week. Maybe every few days. I don't know.
This just happens to be episode 233, by the way.
I told you I don't care anymore.
I know, but I thought just as a matter of record, you'd like to know.
Would you let me know when we get to 238? Just because that's my lucky number.
Okay.
Chad Finn was supposed to be with us tonight. He had to cancel due to some personal situations. Maybe he'll be back in the future. But in the meantime, I just want to quote. From Chad Finn's.
Oh, a quote.
Yeah. Well, it was the last article he ever wrote about me, because I used to have a job that he could write about when I was relevant.
Yeah. So this is right from the guy who was going to be our guest.
Yeah, Globe. He's Chad Finn, Globe staff, June 24th, 2016. maybe Mike Adams should have locked himself in the studio at the end of his run at WEI rather than the beginning. Now, referring to the prank that Jason Wolf came up with when I first got the job. Anyway, he says, initially I wasn't a fan, and I had nothing to do with him calling me Hack Finn, which I did on the radio. Hey, you got to respect a clever insult when you hear one. It's that he was an enigma, sharp-witted, sometimes hilarious, but other times one-note, juvenile, and repetitive. That's the Manny Ramirez bashing and steroid speculation programs were an invitation to turn on a podcast, which is what we're on now.
Yeah, there it is.
You got the sense that show prep wasn't a priority. You know, I think I've heard that before. I think Mutt said that to me one time.
Somebody put that in his head.
And then he told Kirk, and Kirk told everybody in the morning show that show prep was not my strong point.
I can attest to that. When you show up for this podcast, you're loaded with stuff.
You know what I can really prep for, though? Never mind a show. A show is a show. You're having fun. You're high on weed. You don't give a shit. What I prep for is colonoscopy.
That was the career of Mike Adams summed up in a sentence.
Okay,
How
Adams was an acquired taste.
Oh.
And I eventually acquired it. Not because I changed, not because he changed, but because the market changed. Adams had, here's a novel concept, fun on his show.
That's true.
He did a Yaz imitation of... He adored Bill Lee. By the way, speaking of Bill Lee,
yes,
we're going to call him because it's 50 years since he was a member of the 1973 All-Stars.
It's been 50 years. Is this like the exact day?
Well, no, it was late July, but it was 50 years ago. All-Star game is tonight. You know, we're recording this on Tuesday, the 11th, the night of the All-Star game, and he pitched the All-Star game. It was like July 20th or something.
How about that?
But it was 50 years ago, and he's still pitching. We'll ask him about that and a whole lot more coming up on tonight's podcast.
Let me know when you want me to call him.
Every once in a while, we'll do a whole baseball segment. But you were telling me about some kind of a place where it's a musical outlet for. Tell us about that. I can't think.
You know, I have a studio here and I record musicians.
I'm in it.
Yep, bands and all that stuff. Well, I've been hearing this. The one band in particular, the Danny Gallagher band, from my friend Jason, that band, and he said, "Oh, we played at this place called the Fallout Shelter in Norwood." He said, and they made a video. You should see it. Well,
but it's not a real fallout shelter.
But it's that's what they call the place, though. But I looked at it, and it wasn't, you go to a club sometimes, or your friends will say, hey, we put a video of our band on Facebook. Take a look at it. And you do, and somebody put in a GoPro or some other recording device, a Zoom, and you see the band from far away, and it sounds all muffled and loud. And it's just, it's good for the band to look at, but it's really not one of those things you...
As a listener that you would, because of the quality.
So the quality at the Fallout Shelter is not only as clean as anything you've seen on any of your favorite TV shows, but the audio, the sound is exactly that quality.
So this is a professional recording studio giving a compliment to a professional recording studio.
Yeah, it's sort of like they give back to the community. They're a 501c3 company. Their name is, hold on, you should check these out because...
I'm going to do an album. I got a blues album I'm working on.
Hey,
seriously.
This thing would look pro when they're done. I'm telling you that right now. They are a grassroots cultural and performing arts center. If you want to get in touch with them or just look at some of the videos, you'll be blown away, and I'm not kidding. It's GRC PAC, P-A-C, grcpac.org. And
that's their website?
Scroll around in there and take a look at what they do. But they give back to the community, and they're just a great bunch of people who keep the arts alive. It's not just music.
Because I am working on a blues album with just me and the accordion.
Want to hear a sample of their stuff?
Sure, right now.
Do you know, did you ever hear of Sal Baglio? You know Sal Baglio. He used to be in a band called The Fools.
I remember Sal Magley was the pitching coach for the Red Sox.
Well, Sal Baglio and John Butcher and Alan Estes, these are three heavyweights. They got together, and they put a band together with Tom West on keyboards. He's been down here.
Okay.
Ruby Bird and Ramona Silver doing backup vocals, and Wolf Janandis on the bass, and Dave Fox, will give them all credit, on the drums.
Okay.
These are all very cool, very talented Boston people.
I hope they're listening.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is not the whole song, but it's just a little bit to give you
a taste.
An idea of what it sounds like at the Fallout Shelter in Norwood.
Ready, go. That's me clapping. Mm-hmm.
Totally live.
Can't We Be Friends?
John Butcher takes the first lead.
Why can't we be friends? 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 I haven't seen you for a long, long
That's pretty good
time.
quality there.
Yeah.
I remember that you drank my wine. Why can't we be friends?
Anyway, that's,
Can they back me up on my blues album?
They can.
They sound
can.
great.
But I've heard they got all kinds of different bands, and I'm amazed that it's free for one thing. You can just go there and look at all these things, and they're supreme quality. Just
Wow.
it's really, really good.
And they're a 501c,
501c,
a nonprofit.
and
so they're
if
not in it for the money.
they-
They're in it for the quality.
They will accept donations, tax deductible since they're 501c3.
yeah.
And
Do they have an accordion player? Because
I've seen a couple of accordion players there. There's one woman in particular who's extremely good on the accordion.
Is that right?
Yeah, you should see this stuff. It's great.
wow.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I would like to have an all-female band. Not like the Bangles. Not like the Dixie Chicks. Only harmonicas. 5 harmonicas. All mouth organ.
They'd be like
experts.
the harmonic cats. You remember the harmonic cats?
So.
No.
No,
That sounds awful.
They were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
I was just kidding.
There's a family of guys who played harmonica, and one of them played a harmonica this big. Yeah,
That's what she said last night.
they were the harmonica cats. You can find them on YouTube, I'm sure.
Now, can we before we get Bill Lee on the phone, because we're going to get him on the phone and talk a little bit of baseball,
Go ahead.
as we love to do. I mentioned to you guys before when we talked about the man from U.N.C.L.E., Robert Vaughn.
Yes.
I was going through my old scrapbooks in my base. I have an office filled with junk, which is old junk.
Yeah.
And I found the picture of me with Robert Vaughn after his appearance on my show,
The
where
Man
he
from
didn't want to
U.N.C.L.E.
talk about the man from U.N.C.L.E., and that's all I did. I talked about the man from U.N.C.L.E. for 40 minutes.
Look at that
And he was
sourpuss,
pissed.
yeah.
And here's a picture. Let's see.
I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do
okay, you do it. Here's a picture of the look on his face when we did our obligatory. He was so wanted to get out of that place so bad. Robert Vaughn, and there's a picture next to it on the thing of him when he was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Now, he's been in a million things. I just saw him in a Gunsmoke episode the other night, and it's Robert Vaughn. He was 32 when The Man from U.N.C.L.E. became a hit.
Wow. He always looks so much older.
Well, he did the Mark E. Salamone commercials. Tell him you mean business. Remember those?
Yes.
And he was promoting First Alert.
How much do you think he got paid for those marquees? Because those were on
Good money,
forever.
yeah, and by the way, it was
No,
a
but, like,
franchise.
give me a-
He did a lawyer in every market.
Yeah.
There was a Marquis Salamone here, and there was a Joe D'Ambrosio here, and there was a Eddie
That's how
Fitzgerald.
that works.
Oh yeah, and he lined them up, and the production company does the same copy. They just put the names different. If you're in California, it might be call Pancho Guevara because he means business.
So he
It's the
just
same
records
ad.
50 of them?
Yep. And he makes a fortune.
I'll
Or
bet.
did. He's
Yeah.
dead now. Yeah, so he's...
That would be
Give me a
fortune.
ballpark.
He's
What do
not
you mean
even
by
got
fortune?
residuals,
Making like $1 million off
No,
of those?
no. But he probably did one shoot, for one day, and he
made
probably
a
got
quarter of a mil-
$50,000.
Okay.
It's like it was no problem.
I bet he got $250,000.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe he got $50,000 an hour.
He's a celebrity. And he's
Did I say $50,000 a day? I meant an hour.
That's what you said. That's exactly what you said.
So anyway, I found that picture, and on there another thing is a picture of me with this Jay Giles band with in 1981, that Dick Robinson had on his Connecticut School Broadcasting poster. So these are all old clippings and weird things. My arrest. I have the clippings from when I got arrested
Your
at the car wash.
Do you have a mug shot with him?
No,
No.
And so all this old junk comes out of the archives. But here's my greatest prediction of all time. Came out of the archives. Oh, to be a Red Sox fan in early spring by Randy Smith of the Journal-Inquirer in Connecticut. He interviewed me on the day before the baseball season opened, March 29th. Mm-hmm. And he said, what's going to happen this year? Because he says, Red Sox fans are always optimistic. And remember, the curse was still on. They hadn't won shit in that forever. So he interviews me. I said, this and that, blah, blah, blah. At the very end, I tell him this. It's going to be a great summer, especially great for Connecticut baseball fans. The Mets and the Red Sox will duel it out in a 7-game series, and the Red Sox will win. Now, of course, the Red Sox played the Mets in the World Series in '86, and it was a 7-game series, but the Red Sox lost. Bill Buckner the whole thing.
Oh, no, that was the
But
game.
this was before the season started. I not only picked the winner of the National and the American League, but I picked how long the series is going to be.
You do have that. You
And
do
if it
have
wasn't for that Buckner thing, I would have been like Nostra fucking Damus.
Exactly. You do have that premonition kind of thing going on.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. See?
Anyway, let's get Bill Lee on the
right,
phone.
let me
What do you
call.
say? Because it's baseball season, isn't it? Huh? And I can tell because over here to my left is Ben Kitchen wearing a Boston Red Sox hat. It says 1901 on it, which is really outdated. That was the first World Series, right?
Bill was
no,
7.
1903. I think.
1903.
Yeah, that was the year the Red Sox started, 1901. Right?
Yeah, hence why it's
They had the Boston
on the
Americans before that. Yeah. You don't have to explain that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's get Spaceman on the phone. Do you have? Let's get that song for him.
I got it.
He knows I'm calling. He must know.
Hello.
Spaceman,
Yo.
Mikey, Ben Kitchen, Bill Smith, and listen to this music right here. Ready? Go.
Yeah.
Mr. Lee and me. What bothers the spaceman? What's left for him now?
What bothers the spaceman? That's going to be your new intro.
Sounds like someone at a camp in what do you call it? Post-apocalyptic. 5 people left eating cans that they found on the side of the road.
Well, we won't know until that actually happens, will we?
Yeah, Cormac McCarthy, The Road. There's only 2 people left in the world. Yeah, it's a terrible movie. Good book, though.
Yeah, well, you've read every book, so it's I'm not surprised that you know that. I wanted to just call you for several reasons, but first of all, to say, how's the flooding going in Craftsbury, Vermont right now? The whole state is inundated with water.
Well, we're the highest point on a ridge between Canada and the United States. The water on my hill drains down into the Black, which heads down to Canada. And the water on the other side drains down the Lamoille, which heads into Champlain, which basically says that everybody downhill from me is screwed.
Why don't you
And that's what happened. I drove the rivers. The Lamoille was over its banks. I've never seen such devastation. Corn leveled right down there in the lowlands.
Wow.
And the Black River, it's terrible all the way. All 3 bridges to Craftsbury are closed. And drive at your own risk. And I have a Prius, and I don't want to get electrocuted.
No, not at all. Speaking of the Prius, your pacemaker helped you once again. Tell us what happened to you in Indiana.
Oh, I was overheated. I had Rodney Scott in the dugout. I had my wife in the dugout. Late game, 92-degree heat, 90% humidity. Long inning. I was supposed to throw the 7th or the 8th. I should have thrown the 7th. The 8th goes. The guy gets 1 out, and he's doing good. And then all of a sudden, he's got runners at first and third. They get an appeal play. He gets the 2nd out. The other team protests. They call it back. And then the biggest left-hander on the party animals come out. They go, do you want him? And I said, hell no, I don't want him. It's hot and everything else. They go, well, you afraid? And I walked to the mound on a 2-1 count. I went into my stretch. I got dizzy, fell down. Before I hit the ground, my chest thing went off, shocked me back to life.
Defibrillator.
And then I laid on the ground, and then all hell broke loose.
But you got up.
Oh, I got up, and I wanted to pitch. They wouldn't let me. The paramedics came out. They said, you're going to the hospital. So I ran away from them, threw the ball in the air. While the ball was in the air and they were watching it, I took off to the third baseline. I went up in the stands through a gate that I saw and high-fived all the fans all the way out of the stadium to a standing ovation.
You should get a standing ovation just for getting up in that situation.
I got up, and I went there, and then they finally captured me, and they put me in a gurney and strapped me down so I couldn't get out.
Yeah, like the guy in Silence of the Lambs.
It was exactly. I looked like Hannibal Lecter, and when I left the hospital the next day, I looked like the big Indian, and one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Well, that's all part of the Savannah Bananas. By the way, everybody's telling me you can't get tickets to your world tour with the Bananas. No matter where, Portland, Maine, Hartford, Brockton, they're sold out.
They're sold out, and they're scalping them for $400 a ticket. My own son got 4 tickets from his sister, and went in there with his girlfriend and him. Sold the other 2 on some website and made $400.
That's a smart kid there, right?
And I'll say, Andy is a shyster, smart kid, but boy, he can manage.
Andy Lee, yes, he sure can. What has he won for championships for the women's softball? What was it? How many?
Yeah, he's won 9 out of 11 championships with LSU Eunice, and he came in second in the nation last year with Northwest Florida State. The guy is a savant, and the trouble is he put all of his money in marijuana stocks, and they all went tanked on him.
Well, it'll come back. It's a growth industry. It really is. Now, Bill,
it's only a growth industry for seniors and edibles.
Spaceman Bill Lee on the phone here, who was a member of the 1973 American League All-Star team 50 years ago. That's why I'm calling you, is because you got to have some memories. I know, first of all, it was Willie Mays' last, out of 24 All-Star games, it was his final one, which is pretty amazing. But they were loaded, the National League team. You didn't actually get to pitch in the game, and you're probably glad having to face those guys. Nolan Ryan gave up a home run in that one, right?
Willie Davis hit one that's still going, went into the fountains. It was the first year of Kansas City, and my memories are I missed the bus, and Reggie Jackson missed the bus. I had to ride in a cab with him to the ballpark.
Oh, that's fun.
And he talked my ears off, and I couldn't stand the man.
No, me too.
And then when I got to the ballpark, we had a team meeting, and Dick Williams said, is there any American League pitcher that's not 100% sure he can get all the National League hitters out? And I raised my hand. He goes, Bill, why? I was the only one. He goes, why's your hand up? He says, my dad said only fools were positive. I did not get in the game, and damned if we got beat by the National League,
7-1,
which had supposedly 9 Hall of Famers on it.
Yeah, Hank Aaron. I mean, you're talking about just an all-star roster. The starting lineup had Pete Rose did not get in the Hall of Fame, but Joe Morgan did. Hank Aaron, Billy Williams, Johnny Bench, Ron Santo, and the starting pitcher for that team was a guy you knew well from your teammate on the '75 Red Sox, Rick Wise.
The Owl Man threw a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs with Philadelphia or St. Louis. I don't remember which, but probably Philadelphia, and that's why he was the starting pitcher. He was a great control pitcher.
He was.
Sneaky fast, and you couldn't tell where he was going because he had those big horn-rimmed glasses.
Yeah, he's like an owl.
Yep.
He was unbelievable. And Catfish Hunter was started for the American. By the way, Rick Wise got the win in that All-Star game that you didn't get in, but you got to go, right? Except for the Reggie Jackson part, where you probably had a good time.
I had a great time. I was very flattered, and I think I was a late addition. I won 17 games that year. I was a relief pitcher that finally started starting, and 73 was a great year. 72, we should have won the pennant, but I didn't get to pitch enough, and that was Eddie Casco's fault. 73, the same thing. Then he got fired, and then Darren Johnson was in.
Yeah,
and we had a run. Our team should have been in the World Series maybe 4 years in the 70s.
Yeah, well, and Rick was a member of the Buffalo Head gang, was he not?
Oh, yes, he was. He was our little Nazi in the corner that kind of put everything in perspective, And
the Buffalo
he was a right winger, drank a lot of really sweet white wine. That kind of made him, I think, was his moniker. And then you had Fergie and I and
Bernie
Willoughby, and we were all weed smokers and stuff, and didn't drink we didn't drink the white wine.
It was Bernie, Fergie Jenkins, you, Rick Wise,
Willoughby and I,
and Willoughby. Yeah, that's a Buffalo. A classic Red Sox lore. All right, I have a little folklore for you here before we let you get back to whatever it was you're doing, Spaceman. And I want to tell you the saga of the man who, in Major League history, has the shortest autograph, the shortest name for autographs. Can you think of who that might be?
Ed Ott.
Yes. Oh my God, it's Ed Ott. Now, Bill Lee is a pretty short autograph. It's only 7 letters, right?
Yeah, but Ed Ott is right there. Isn't it amazing?
Here's the story of Ed Ott. He was a Pirates catcher, of course, backing up Manny Sanguillen and Duffy Dyer. And then he was known as a tough, no-nonsense player. He was a former wrestler who was not afraid to use those skills on a baseball diamond. On August 12, 1977, against the Mets, Ott slid hard into the second baseman of the Mets, Felix Millan, trying to break up the double play. Millan shouted at Ott and hit him with a baseball in his hand. He had that baseball in his hand, and he hit him. Ott, a former Muncie High School star wrestler, answered this by picking Millan up in a wrestling move, upending him, and then slamming him into his extended knee at 3.
Oh, no, broke his back.
It broke his shoulder. It broke his collarbone, and it effectively ended Felix Millan's playing career. He never came back to the major leagues after that. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And-
Yeah, he was. He played for me. Millan was my second baseman for the Los Indios de Mayagüez in Puerto Rico.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know Felix. He's the
You
one
know
who
all
told me
these
not to get on the bus when I got the shit beat out of me by Eli Rodriguez that day in Caguas.
Oh, with your teeth?
Yeah, he heard Millan and all the guys knew that they had a vendetta out for me at the ballpark.
Oh, my
The
God.
bus stalled. The crowd got around us. Then we restarted the engine. We broke away from the crowd, got to the ballpark through the parking lot, pulled up right to the front gate. There was no one there, and I tried to sneak off. I was at the first off the bus, and then around the back of the bus was Rodriguez and his family, and they slammed me into the guardrail going down the stadiums into the steps, that metal thing.
Wow.
Knocked me out and knocked my teeth out, and then they tried to stab me. And Pete Kogel and Ron Woods from Montreal and Philly grabbed me, saved me, and kept me from dying.
Wow, man, that is. I remember that story but a long time ago, but all the details are now refreshed in my memory. You know,
Wow, you've got it right there on roller derby, man. I'm a steel trap.
unbelievable. So just back to Ed Ott for 1 second. You know, he became a coach after he played, as many guys do, and he was serving under Art Howe with the Astros, and. In one of the incidents, he was remembered for this, an on-field altercation against the Reds. In 1991, Reds reliever Rob Dibble ignited a brawl when he threw a pitch behind the back of Eric Yelding late in the game of a 4-1 Reds loss. A melee ensued, and the 6'4" Dibble wound up on the bottom of a pile with the relatively diminutive Ott having put Dibble in such a chokehold that Dibble's face turned blue. That's great. This guy, Ed Ott, you know, never mind this.
I love it. Now we just don't have that anymore.
No, never.
That's baseball.
No, because these guys.
It was great. You know, we had managers getting thrown out in big tirades and bases flying all over the
spitting
place.
on people.
And now we got instant replay, and everybody's got their tongue in everybody's ear.
It's unbelievable. So Ed Ott, the shortest autograph in Major League history. I give kudos to Bill Lee for just pulling that one right out of his ass perfectly. Ed Ott is right.
No, it's such a tight ass it is.
By the way, there's a tie for first place shortest autograph, but it's a football guy, Ty Law.
Oh, I remember him.
Yeah, he's five. He's 5 letters also. So, you know, these guys.
Wow.
Of course, Nomar Garciaparra with 18 letters, and Jared Saltalamacchia's all-time record with 19. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I learned something about the watershed. If you have riparian rights and you're the first one in a river like the Hetch Hetchy, and you put a piece of paper on it and nail it to a tree and say, this rights of water belongs to San Francisco for perpetuity, you know, and you walk away. But then an Indian pulls the nail and wipes his ass with the paper.
And we have the video. Spaceman, I'm glad you're okay after that last thing. I'm glad you're still pitching.
I'm fine. I got out of there. I walked out like the Indian, like I said. I pulled the IV out, put some duct tape on my arm, and walked out in my goddamn socks, the yellow socks from Methodist Hospital. Non-slip socks. That's all I got from Indiana.
Save those non-slip socks. You put them in the Hall of Fame.
No, I already threw those in a trash can, probably in Akron, Ohio.
Well, you stay dry up on the hill in Craftsbury, my friend, all right?
I will. I'm not going down till they fix the bridges.
All right. Well, the Spaceman, thanks again, man. We'll talk to you.
Guys.
Bye-bye. He's a nut. The guy's a nut. He's certifiably a nut. Don't you think?
What a good nut.
Yeah, he's great. He's
good
great.
nut.
He's always got good stories, you know. I mean, I have news stories sometimes. I mean, sometimes when I have news stories on the podcast, we just do them, not as a... And now this about Ed Ott. I mean, who knew, right, with all that stuff? Miss Universe is a man.
Oh, okay. Did you see the picture of Miss Universe and Bill Hader next to side by side? Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Well, Ricky, his name is I'm just going to say his name because he used to be a guy. Yeah. He can't get upset at that. Ricky Cole became the first openly trans pageant contestant to win the title of Miss Netherlands on Saturday. She will go on to represent her country in Miss Universe later this year. Now, they're a little weird sexually in the Netherlands anyway, aren't they? I mean,
they're a little looser.
Isn't there a story about some kid put his finger in the dike? And
not that dike.
I would read that story, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you?
I'm sorry. Listen, it's a Dutch story. Here's what Coley said, or actually wrote in a joyous Instagram post after her win, becoming Miss Netherlands. That's him. I did it! That's what... and then he said, I made my community proud and showed it can be done. She added in Dutch.
It can be done.
With an emoji of the light blue, light pink, and white striped trans flag and a little tiny penis. No, sorry.
There's a picture of Bill Hader, and it's right next to it is that Miss Netherlands?
Ricky Coley.
And it looks like Bill Hader with lipstick on. And
I'd rather see Ricky Lake, to be honest with you, win the thing.
Ouch.
Throughout the competition, which narrowed down hundreds of entrants to 10 finalists in April, Tricky Ricky Coley, Dickie, has used her platform to promote a more inclusive vision of the pageant world and to encourage other men to feel inspired. Now, the quote here that I love the most is, Miss Universe asked us to describe ourselves in one word. The word I'm choosing, he said, is victory. Because as a little boy, I conquered all the things that came through my path. And look at me now, standing here as a strong, empowering, and confident trans woman.
Why are they trying to get rid of biological women? You notice they don't get any...
It seems so sad for the actual women that should have won that thing because they were actually women.
Did you see the runner-up? She was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I wouldn't you? I went back for more.
Call back.
More news.
Hold on, let me blow my nose.
And now more news with Mike Adams.
Oh, that one had it. That's shrapnel there.
That was good.
Chunk.
Now,
And he just throws it on the floor.
No, there's a trash can.
He just threw it on the floor, Bill.
And now more news.
Was I supposed to put it in your
Mike
pocket?
Adams.
Why is my mic low?
I don't know.
So happy Miss Universe to Miss Netherlands and stuff like that. Okay, interesting stats from the, you know the people that say, okay, we don't need bail. We don't need, these people can't afford. In California, they're saying, well, you should only have to pay bail based on your ability to pay. Okay, so all these criminals just say, I don't have any money. They go, okay, we don't have to pay bail.
Of course,
and they let them
they,
go.
yeah,
It's the fucking stupidest thing in the world. The people who paid their bail have a recidivism rate of 43%.
Yep.
Criminals that paid their bail, 43% chance of getting arrested again in the near future for a crime. 76% of the people who don't pay any bail is the recidivism rate.
They go right back to doing
76%. So now they're saying, okay, no bail. You're out on the street. Another crime. No bail.
Mike,
it's just a continuum.
You're missing the point. It's the genius of Gavin Newsom.
No, he's such a piece of shit.
It's really something, isn't it?
California's new bill is to have judges take into consideration race while deciding bail or sentences. So two people murder, okay, or they assault, or they rape, or two people, one's white, one's black, and the judge is supposed to say, well, you know what? We're going to give you a lower sentence or a lower bail because, you're black and we feel sorry for you. You're a rapist, just like this guy over here, but You know what I mean? It's like, why? Why should race enter into a law that's established to deal with humans of all races?
You know, equal justice under the law.
Under
period.
the law.
Yeah.
It's like, but this is California now.
See, again, the genius of Gavin Newsom.
Unbelievable. So anyway, the rearrest rate is 163% more prominent when there's no bail than it would be if there's bail. That was the point I was getting at. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The U.S. Secret Service is investigating the cocaine found in the White House on Sunday night. Now, as someone who's dealt with cocaine as an issue,
Yes.
and completely, what's the word, banished it from my life 23 years ago, I know what's going on here with this whole cocaine thing. They found it in the West Wing, and they found it in a place where only certain people could. And they say, oh no, it was over here, because then they can include more people in the circus of potential suspects for the cocaine. Don't you think that America's not stupid and knows that an admitted cocaine addict, freak, piece of shit, Hunter Biden, with hookers and cocaine and crack and free base, whatever the hell he's doing in the hotel rooms, he admits it, and he went through this bad thing. Now he's hanging out at the White House all the time, and suddenly, for the first time ever, they find cocaine. Isn't it a normal leap to go from, well, here's a guy who's a cocaine addict, we know it, he's hanging around, and he has clearance.
And he's a careless guy about everything.
And he forgets shit. He leaves laptops over here. He leaves guns in the dumpster. He leaves women pregnant over here.
Not only that, but how many cameras are there in the White House?
And there's no cameras in that particular. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But here's my thought.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Hunter Biden, we'd know who it was. We would have
already
known 5 minutes later. We would have known.
Exactly where I was going, and you're so right. Because otherwise, I mean, what do they got to hide? Right? Oh, this guy, this intern who is dead meat.
They're going to wait till it just leaves the headlines magically.
Unless it was, the only other exception to that would be if it was Kamala. So, they might be protecting her.
Somebody floated her name the other day, too. Said it was near her parking space or something. Yeah.
A lot of people know all about her parking space, I'll tell you what. It's not that hard to pull in. I think I think I've done it now.
You have.
I really have. I think I've overextended my stay here.
You think the news is done?
Yes. I think it's time for us to get musical again. Don't you think?
Sure.
God, I love the musical endings of these shows. You know why? Because every single week it's a chance for a fresh piece of old music that no one's heard in a long, long time, especially when it's done by the duet, the two fabulous former voices of the Red Sox. We don't use last names. Joe and... We don't.
What was that?
No, I had a hair.
Do you have hair
I think it was a mustache hair.
All right.
Like, I got real good at that in my prime.
That was good, though.
Joe and Jerry here for our musical outro. Joe, Jerry, take it away. Well, you're the kind of person you meet at certain dismal, dull affairs. Center of a crowd, talking too loud, running up and down the stairs, Joe. Well, it seems to me you haven't seen too much in too few years. And though you've tried, you just can't hide because your eyes are edged with tears. You better stop, Joe. It's yours. And look around. Here it comes. Here it comes. Here it comes, True. Here it comes, Joe. Well, here comes your 19th nervous breakdown. When you were a child, you were treated kind, but you never brought up right. You were always spoiled with 1,000 toys, but you still cried all night. Your mother, who neglected you, owes $1 million tax. And your father's still perfecting ways of making sealing wax. You better stop. And look around. Oh, here it comes. Again. Here it comes again, Joe. Here it comes. Here comes your 19th nervous breakdown. What happened to the 18th? Oh, who's to blame, Joe? What the hell? That girl is just freaking insane. Well, nothing I do don't seem to work. It only seems to make matters worse. Oh, please! 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 You were still in school when you had that fool who really messed your mind. And after that, you turned your back on treating people kind. On our first trip, I tried so hard to rearrange your mind, but after a while I realized you were rearranging mine. Hey, you better stop. Look around. Can you believe